This multipolar world, though, so unipolar meaning based on the dollar, right? And
Well, based on a dollar, based on US foreign policy.
right. And so Putin was also making the point that the multipolar world is indeed more decentralized, more democratic, in fact. So what is, I mean, that that actually seems to make a lot of sense sitting here as an American, like, okay, yeah, that does seem to make more sense. So is the US just trying to resist the fragmentation of its power, this transition from unipolar to multipolar?
I believe you're right by saying that they are defending that vigorously. I believe that's why the pipelines have been blown up to take full control of Europe. The only gas supply, and it's not going to be enough, but the only gas supply that can go to Europe will be the LNG tankers from the US. For that, you have to build terminals. It will take 2 years. And then the ship flow, the shuttling will start. Again, those ships are big if you see them in the harbor, but they cannot replace the volumes that are coming through the pipeline on a continuous basis. So America is on a crossroad here. You see, in my view, institutions and countries, they never go backwards. They always go forward. The question is, do they go left, center, or right? In this case, the US has no other chance to defend its hegemony. And I think one of it is also defending the dollar or propping up the dollar. I had a lunch today in Zurich with a financial banking journalist who's quite prominent. And we discussed this at lunch about Jerome Powell's policy right now in the Fed. We also discussed Bitcoin, but I come to that later. Clearly, I think the US wants to show the world that the dollar is reliable and that investing in the dollar makes a lot of sense. It's strong currency, has a higher yield. And who suffers from that right now? Is the euro, the British pound. You saw what happened to the British pound the last few days. Terrible. The Brits abandoned the hiking season. They couldn't keep up because their economy was just collapsing. And the ECB will face the same problems. The ECB is such on thin ice at the moment, economically speaking. They cannot follow suit and increase rates. Switzerland, the Swiss National Bank, SNB, they will probably follow the US model to fight inflation, which is prima vista a good thing, because inflation per se and then going into hyperinflation destroys absolutely everything. So the conclusion of this, if you are stepping a bit away from the currencies, the fiat money, look at what Bitcoin did. Bitcoin is quite stable. Through all those crises, Bitcoin has been stable. People are waking up. They're migrating to Bitcoin because they see Bitcoin as being autark, decentralized, and limited in supply. So people say it's a disaster. It's at $19,000. I say it's an adjustment through the reasons we discussed in the last session. It comes with it. But right now, in this huge crisis since the Second World War, never seen before, Bitcoin is steady. It's holding up well.
Yeah, the dollar price of Bitcoin has been mostly flat, but the dollar index, the DXY, has been surging. So
yes,
that bodes well for the
that
Bitcoin.
bodes well, absolutely.
So you said something interesting there. The sabotaging of these pipelines then effectively forces Europe to buy this energy from the West.
Yeah.
Or from the US specifically,
Yeah.
right? So now they have
Yeah.
to be shipped on US tankers.
Yeah.
Europe. So that's clearly in the US best interest that these pipelines were destroyed then.
It is, because again, it destroyed the Putin energy card. Putin can no longer have the card in his pocket. For instance, he could have said, I'll open the pipelines again. I mean, the pipelines are open for you. You have a problem in winter. In case you want to open it yourself, we are here for you. He can't say that anymore. They're not there anymore. Those pipes are laying 80 meters, about 300 feet below the surface. You need special equipment and special equipment to fix them. If they can be fixed, I have no information that they can. The Russians are saying they can fix them, but it will take about a year or 1.5 years. By that time, we have the biggest socioeconomic disaster happening in Europe, and that's happening now. It's starting now, and that's why the Germans deploy troops. So the biggest beneficiary from it politically and economically is America, clearly.
And there's still no indication of who the saboteurs were, I take
The
it.
Russians are claiming that they have evidence that US equipment was in the vicinity of the sabotaged pipelines a week before they happened. That's according to the Russian intelligence service, published today. Again, the ones who don't benefit from all of this are two people, the Russians and the European continent. America has a big energy strength now vis-a-vis Germany and the EU, a big one, a very big one.
Wow. Yeah, it's terrible to think what's going to happen this winter.
Yes, you must imagine German homes. We're talking tens of millions of homes. 50% of German homes are heated by gas. And the winter is coming now. It's now 10 degrees outside Celsius. It's not comfortable if you cannot heat already now. Imagine now in November, in 2 months, we have the first snow coming in. Winter in Europe is tough, always been November till February, it's ugly. There's Christmas coming, a holy spiritual feast is coming, like also New Year. It won't be funny for those people because they cannot pay the energy bills. We got here a letter from our lessor. We are renting this place here, it's not ours. And they sent a letter that they will dramatically increase the cost of energy during winter. They warned us today. And this is Switzerland. Switzerland uses only about 3 or 4% of gas for homes. So it's negligible, okay, completely. Our power production comes from 60% water power, the dams in the mountains, like the Hoover Dam in America, and nuclear power, 35%, and the rest is usually from France. We buy the power from them because they have 58 nuclear power stations. But the French are not screwing us. The French are not doing anything against us. The French have planned longhand to do maintenance on half of those power stations. They could not foresee the war and the crisis that was coming pretty quickly since February 24th of this year. So France is short of power themselves. They cannot send us power because they themselves don't have enough. So yeah, it's a big dilemma.